Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Entrefluential Life podcast. I am your host, John Tanner.
And I am your co-host, Sebastian Tanner.
We are coming to you live on June 21st at 7:30 p.m. Tuesday. Today, we're bringing back our special guest, Charlie Vega. He'll be joining us at 8 o'clock this evening to talk about his book that he wrote, which is 1,001 successful business tips. And also, he may be talking about some of his martial arts experience, which I'm really excited to dive into. Did you know that Charlie did Hapkido? That he's a combat master of school. I think it's called combat Hapkido. Did you know that, Sebastian? I think he's a fifth degree black belt.
It's cutting in and out.
Yeah, I saw that, but I think we're good now, right?
It's still what is on right now. It's still having. All right, I think we're good. I think we're better now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I don't know what's going on. It keeps going in and out. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I just refreshed the screen, so I think maybe we have a better signal now. How's that?
All right. Yep. I think it's better now. Yep.
Okay, good.
There we go.
Perfect. All right. So, what do you got for us today for the physical tip of the day?
All right. So today the physical tip is to make sure that you are lifting with good form always. So it applies to anyone that's if you're just starting off working out, if you've been working out for a while, and it's a little bit flexible, this rule, because I say that in the sense of everyone has their preference when they're doing a workout. Once you start learning the proper form for all of the different movements, certain people like to do certain little tweaks on their form. So they can switch it a little bit in certain cases to work a different part of that same muscle, whichever muscle it may be that you're training at the time. So it has their own preference. But for the most part, you want to just make sure that you're lifting with good form. If you don't know what the correct form is for whatever workout you're doing, look up a YouTube video, find somebody. If you have a trainer, obviously they should be telling you this information. And just make sure that you look up what you're doing when you're first starting off. That way you're not as when you don't lift with good form, you can put uneven pressure on your muscles, your joints, and your tendons. So you just want to be careful and make sure that you have the correct form when doing your workout. And then for those that are starting to get more advanced in their weightlifting and they're raising the weights, you want to just make sure that you have good form, because once you start going heavier, you're putting your body at more risk of injury. So it's a role that can be applied to beginners and to people that have been in it for a while.
Great. Okay, so good form, and where can the audience get some tips, Sebastian, where they can see like images on what good form looks like? Did you hear me? Okay, I'm going to reload it. Hey, are you there? Hey, Sebastian? Okay, guys, sorry about that. Sebastian fell out of the signal. I rebooted, so hopefully he's going to be signing back in here in a minute. But while we're waiting for him to come back online, There might be some intermittent internet connection there. He's coming from Boston. I'm down in Jacksonville, Florida. And so let me go ahead and tell you about the mental tip of the day. So I have 15 self-esteem affirmations. I look at these things practically every morning. Can't say I didn't do it this morning because I had to be at my day job at 7 o'clock this morning, so I couldn't do it. I usually do this between 6 and 8 a.m. I do my morning ritual, and then I usually go and do a run, or sometimes I skip the run and go straight to the gym and just do weights. But usually I do a combination of both. I like to run for about 30 minutes and then do weights. So anyway, here's the 15 self-esteem affirmations. I love these. I hope that you'll like them as well. So number one is, I add quality and value to my life and to the lives of others. Number two, I do what makes me feel alive. Number three, I enjoy spending time in quiet places. Let me just pause here for a second and say, why are these important? I'll tell you why. Because if you have any challenges with low self-esteem, these positive affirmations are going to sink into your mind, your subconscious mind. You read them aloud. This is it's a self-actualization activity, and then it sinks into your subconscious mind so that you record them in your subconscious mind to improve your self-esteem. And improving your self-esteem is going to help you have courage, confidence, the ability to achieve your goals a whole lot more easily. And when you talk to other people, then it comes off as you are more confident. And that's important for closing sales. It's important for having people trust you. So having positive self-esteem, positive self-confidence is very important. So let's go ahead and continue on. I gave you the first three, and I'm going to write these down and give them to you in the show notes when we're done with the episode. So number four is, I have the courage to map out my own life. And by the way, guys, you can record these, you can write these down and have them. I have them on my cell phone. I just look at my cell phone every morning. I have reminders, and I read these 15 self-esteem affirmations among my whole stack with the other things like Napoleon Hill's self-confidence formula and the 12 rules of success by Earl Nightingale. Okay, let me do number four again. I have the courage to map out my own life. Number five, I believe in myself even when no one else does. Number six, I am gifted in unique ways. Number seven, I feel accepted and loved. Number eight, I am independent. Number nine, I accept myself completely. Number 10, I embrace myself fully and joyfully. Number 11, I am superior to my old self. Number 12, I never underestimate my abilities. Number 13, I embrace self-acceptance. Number 14, I have the right mental attitude for success. And number 15, I enjoy helping other people. So there you have it, folks. That's the 15 self-esteem affirmations that I have here. There's actually a ton of affirmations available online. And if you don't like those 15, or you want to change them out with some other ones, take a look online, do some searching, and you can find a ton of positive affirmations that you can use to make yourself more confident and raise your self-esteem so that you have a higher level of self-esteem. It's very important in so many different ways. All right, so now we've covered the physical tip of the day from Sebastian before he got cut out. Then we did the mental tip of the day, which is the 15 self-esteem affirmations. Our next thing is our spiritual tip of the day. And this comes from Dr. David Jeremiah. And the keyword is pursue. And Dr. Jeremiah has this written down, this message. Your purpose gives you strength to move forward even when times are tough. Purpose stabilizes your life. With a clear purpose, you persevere because you know there's a reason, a cause. So if you're living a purpose-driven life and doing a career, because this shows about entrepreneurship, right? So if you choose a career that is in alignment with your life purpose, so you got to figure out what that is. What is your life goal? What is your life purpose? What do you feel like God put you on this earth to do? When you have a career that's in alignment with that purpose, that you believe that is your calling, then you're going to, number one, stay the course when times get tough. Number two, you're gonna feel like you're even killed, that you have balance in your life because life is rocky. And so Dr. Jeremiah is saying that purpose stabilizes your life, right? A rocky ship, when you have the ebbs and flows of the waves, your ship rocks like this, right? And when that happens in your life, you feel out of balance. So purpose gives you stability. It even makes your ship even killed so that you can navigate through this journey called life in a smooth path, right? As smooth as possible, because there's ups and downs always, but you want to stabilize and keep moving on that path very smoothly. Okay. Then it also says that you will persevere, right? If you persevere because this is your reason, your calling, that you will persevere, that you won't give up because you feel like because when you feel like you have a higher reason to do something other than doing it for yourself, you're more inclined to complete the task. You're more inclined to help others than you are to help yourself. And so that's why it's important to have your career be in alignment with your calling so that you won't give up, you won't stop. Because if it's just for you, then you're more likely to quit. But if it's for some other people and they're relying on you, whether it be your family, your parents, your children, your siblings, your neighbors, your spouse, whoever is relying on you, you're going to feel more compelled to complete the task. So that's purpose. On the backside of this card, we have the Bible verse of the day, which comes from Romans 12:1. And the Bible verse is this: I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. Why is it a reasonable service? Okay, I'll tell you why. Because if you are given the gift of eternal life, which was paid for by Jesus Christ on the cross, he died for our sins. It was a completion of atonement for the sins of mankind. The only thing is, in order to turn that key of forgiveness, you have to believe that Jesus died for you, that he was God incarnate, came down to live as a man, to pay the ultimate price for our salvation, which was death on the cross. And he did that. And so all you have to do is believe in him and that he died for your sins and you will be forgiven. As long as you maintain that belief, then we are promised the gift of eternal life. And so what's our response back to that? To be a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. That's a reasonable request. And why would that be important to God? Okay, well, number one, God is holy and pure. So if he's holy and pure and he created us in his image, then he wants to be holy and pure as well. And so the way that we live a holy and pure life, welcome back, Sebastian, is by
Thank you.
by by living in a way that is opposite from the way the world lives, which is chasing idolatry, lust, lewd and lascivious behavior, um, sexual immorality, profanity, drunkenness, slothfulness, laziness. All of those things are demonstrations of walking outside of the holiness that God created us to be like. That is sinfulness. The opposite of that would be like if you look at a Bible verse that talks about the seven, I think was it, I don't know if it's seven, but it's the spiritual gifts, right? The fruit of the Spirit. There's a Bible verse that talks about the fruit of the Spirit. And some of those examples are love, joy, peace, long suffering, meekness, and humility, right? I think there's seven, but those are demonstrations of a person who's walking as a holy person, okay? And those are acceptable to God. If you're living out those personality traits, character traits, joyful, happy, loving, gentle, humble, humility, right? Humble, long suffering, patience. Those are things that people find valuable, and when you live that way, you're a demonstration. They call us Christians because we are Christ-like. That's how God was incarnate, Christ, and he was serving people when he was here, and we're supposed to serve people in the same way. We're supposed to be miniature versions of him. That's why they call us Christians, which means little anointed ones. Christos means anointed one. We're the little anointed ones. And so that's our job, is to walk in that same light and be those good things, be good things to others. And wow, what a difference it is in our world today. Boy, if you just look at all the selfishness, and I'm not even going to go into all the other things that we talked about, like the sins, the demonstrations of sinfulness, but just think about selfishness. And go pay attention when you're in the car tomorrow and you're driving from point A to point B. I want you to see how many people you count that demonstrate selfishness. How many people who are going to cut you off, blow the horn, give you the finger, pick one, see how much selfishness is going on. Run a red light, just see how much selfishness is going on in the vehicles on your way to work or point A to point B, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And then think about all those other things too, if you want to. Be my guest. It's a crazy world out there. So when you do good and you're humble and you hold the door for somebody and you say please and thank you and you say yes sir and yes ma'am, people love you. They respect you and they're like, wow, this guy's different. This girl's different than everybody else, because it's so easy to be different. People are freaking selfish. They're it's just shocking, man. It's shocking. So be kind, be generous, be polite, dress nice, look professional, talk to people respectfully, and you'll see how they light up. They get excited when you say Mr. Hi, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Hold the door.
Yep.
It's amazing. They love it. What's up, buddy?
Yeah. How's it going? Can you
I
hear me?
was like, I can't believe I'm gonna have to do this. Yeah, I can hear you. I was like, I'm gonna have to do this show all on my own. What is this? I
Oh
was
my
gonna carry
gosh,
the
I
torch
don't
though, man.
know. The Wi-Fi was cutting out. I guess they're like working on. I got a letter in the mail today that there might be shortages because they're working on the boosting the signal. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Well, thank God you're still here, man. Hey, so I went ahead and I did the spiritual tip of the day for you, right? And I did my mental 15
Yeah, I could
self-esteem
tell.
affirmations. And now I'm gonna
All right.
yeah. And now I'm gonna do risk tolerance real quick.
All
I'm
right. Sounds
sorry to
good.
steal your I'm sorry to steal your thunder, but since you're out of water, it's actually beneficial for you, right? It's a blessing in disguise.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All right,
Yep.
so
That way I
there
don't
are
make myself any more thirsty than I already am.
right, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to take a sip of
Take a
water.
sip and
So
take a sip in front of me. Take a sip in front
take one for my homie.
of me. I have no water right now. I'm
By
struggling
the
to
way, I want to say
dehydrate.
hi to John Paul. He's listening over there from the Philippines. What's up, John Paul? Thank you for joining us, buddy. All right, so risk tolerance. This comes from the I was like 11 characteristics of successful. Yes, 11 characteristics of successful entrepreneurs from Harvard Business School Online. Risk tolerance. Many things can go wrong when launching a venture, but many things can also go right. The key, noted in Entrepreneurship Essentials, is for entrepreneurs to actively manage the relationship between risk and reward and position their companies to benefit from the upside. So, we do things like a cost benefit analysis. And you think about the pros and the cons of making a decision.
Yeah.
That's right. A how much is it
Yeah.
going to cost you to do this task? Benefit, what's the reward for doing this task, right?
Mhm.
And if the benefit is higher than the cost, then it's worth doing. Yeah.
Right.
Right. Is there risk involved? Yes. There's risk in waking up in the morning and getting out of your bed. Right. There's just risk in everything.
Yeah.
So you got to weigh
Yeah.
the cost,
Exactly.
weigh the risk. Yeah.
Yep.
And if it looks good, if it looks like there's a benefit, a plus
It
side
looks
to
good
it,
and go for it.
yeah. If it looks good, then go for it. All right, Sebastian, I am turning the microphone over to you because now it's time for you to bring our influence tip of the day.
All right. So the fifth principle of influence is called liking. And basically what that is people prefer to say yes to those that they like. There was a study, there was a series of negotiation studies carried out between MBA students at two well-known business schools. So there's two groups. Some groups were told, time is money, get straight down to business. In this group, around 55% were able to come to an agreement. In the second group, however, they were told, before you begin negotiating, exchange some personal information with each other, so get to know each other. The first group, just start doing business. The second group, have a 5-minute conversation, get to know each other first, and then start talking business. This second group, 90% of them were able to come to a successful and agreeable outcome that were typically worth 18% more to both parties. So when you look at that, the first group that got down straight down in business without even having a little bit of interaction before they started, 55% of them came to an agreement. In the second group, 90% of them were able to come to agreement. That was 18%. It was worth 18% more for both parties. And that was just simply by getting to know each other first, introducing yourself by your name, having a small conversation, building a little bit of a rapport with that person. And while you're doing so, you can use, I believe the last principle of influence that we talked about was credibility, something along those lines.
It was
So
consistency.
consistency. Well, somewhere
Yep.
we were talking about one of our principles of influence, and we were talking about
Oh yeah.
having
Hmm.
credibility, and we were talking
Yep.
about having letting
Authority.
people know, your authority. Exactly, it was authority, and so that's
Yep.
if you have any type of degrees that you can let somebody know that would be relevant to the conversation, you can do so, and you can use the principle of authority in your small introduction with the person, and that can lead to doing more business. And so
Hmm.
basically, what we can take the key takeaways from the whole research and everything, the whole experiment is to find a common area of interest with whoever you're looking to do business with. So when you start your interaction, find something
Hmm.
that you both are interested in. So that's something that you can agree upon, and you click
Good.
instantly off of that. And the
Hmm.
second is to compliment them. So you're going to make them feel good about themselves. It's going to make them more inclined to do business with you because you make them feel good, and you want to be around people that make you feel good, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
B, compliment them, and C, be cooperative. So that means look for a win-win situation. Look for something that's going to benefit both parties, and that's what we call a win-win. So you want
I,
to do that. You want to be a cooperative person. You don't want to be too much on what's going to benefit you. You want to find something that's right in the middle that they can get a benefit from, you can get a benefit from, and that way both of you are walking away adding value to each other.
that's awesome, Sebastian. Thank you for those awesome three takeaways from that. That's fantastic. Hey, listen, Sebastian, I want to ask you a question. In which of the two groups, the 55% group and the 90% group, which group do you think Americans, North Americans, fit into?
North Americans?
Yeah, United States of America. What do you think? Which of those two groups do we fit into? Are we the 55% that go straight to business, or the 90% that get to know each other first?
I think where you are. I've seen different areas where people are more inclined to, have conversations with you and be friendly, and I've seen other areas where people are not so friendly. I think as a whole, um,
As a
the
nation?
people
Yeah,
as a nation, I think they're very, very outspoken, very uh, quick to give their opinion and such. So I think I would say that we're I would like to believe that we're more inclined to have a conversation with somebody and get to know them first because I mean for most businesses the way to get a good customer is you got to show them what you can offer them that's better than the other people that are doing the same, or you create something completely new that's solving somebody's problem. But I think either way, you got to have a conversation with someone, be good at that. So I would like to say that we fall into the
it's number two.
category of building a relationship. Yeah, group two.
Yeah, I know. I
No,
feel the same way. Like it's aspirational, but no. Yeah, unfortunately, us here in North America, we are straight to the point, all about the business, and it's
business.
common. It's commonly known. Yeah. So like in South America and in Europe, it's group number two. They
Wow.
get to they don't start in the business
Oh
negotiations right
wow.
away. They start, they talk, they have a cup of coffee, you talk about the family, you get to know each
Yeah.
other before you engage in business. And if you start talking about business right out of the gate, they find that to be disrespectful. Unfortunately, that's exactly what you United States Americans
Wow.
are. We're all about straight to the
Oh
business.
my gosh. Well, I was real hopeful.
Yeah, I know, man. It's like
I
really,
didn't want to just go out there and say negative. I had a
yeah,
feeling that we were more likely to
yeah.
be more business
Now I think
oriented,
that
but it's crazy to see how other
I think that
places
your
operate
your upbringing might
differently.
have I think your upbringing might have a factor to do with that, like the way that you see things, your perceptual view.
I
Because
think so. Yeah,
your
I
mom is from
think so.
Peru. I'm half Honduran,
Yep,
so like you've been
yep.
exposed to a
I've
different
grown
lifestyle. You know what I
up
mean?
seeing a lot of people that are, you give a hug when you meet people. You
Hmm.
introduce
Talk,
someone to everybody. When you go to someone's house, you say hi to everyone. You be polite.
right?
That's how I grew up. So
Yep,
that's my
yep.
perspective.
That's probably yeah. That's probably one of the yeah. That's probably one of the
Yeah,
reasons why
had
you
some good
thought that all
people.
of
Had
America was
some.
ours.
I was fortunate enough to have some great people that raised me. So I have
Oh,
a
thank you. I'm
different
going to take that as a
perspective.
compliment.
I have high standards. You guys taught me very well. So you guys taught me a lot of key things about manners and being polite and the right way to do things versus the wrong way. And well, it just stuck with me. Stuck with me for a while. At some point, I neglected some rules and didn't listen to some, but I guess
that's
over
part of
time,
that's
then you
part of
can
growing
just
up.
realize, like, wow, your parents were really right. Not like
What's
they
up, Charlie?
didn't go through everything before you. How's it going, Charlie?
Hey, Sebastian. Doing well, thanks. So sorry about Tracy, but she's got this big mark on the middle of her eye. You know how women are. So,
Oh yeah, no worries, man. Hey, we're happy to have you back on board again. Sebastian was just wrapping up. We were just talking about how here in America, like most people in America are just straight to the business, right? You come in, you're like, let's go, let's get down to business. Let's talk about what's going on here,
right.
right? Let's get to the contract. Whereas in Europe and South America, it's more like, hey, you better talk and get to know the person a little bit, have some coffee, talk about the day, talk about your family before you start negotiating.
Oh, yeah. It's, hold on a second. Let's get my notes here. I totally agree with you on that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Americans, there was a study done there. The Sebastian was sharing with us that 55%. There's two groups. The first group that went straight to business, they were able to achieve good negotiations at a 55% success rate. The other group that got to know each other better, they did their little bit of rapport building first. They had a
Uh,
90% success rate.
I think that's totally true, particularly if I've been in sales most of my career, and it's all about relationships. People buy from people, not so much the product.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
You know.
Right.
Cool.
So, hey,
Speaking,
I sent you my book, John, today. So
thank you,
you'll get it.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Can
Uh,
I see it again? Can you hold it up there? Show everybody. All right. Hey, listen, Charlie, is that on Amazon? Because I want to put a link on the show notes. I got your
well,
bio.
yeah,
Uh huh.
what's funny about that is I hadn't looked at this book in probably years right now.
Uh huh.
Um,
You're gonna do an
and
update?
I just went on Amazon to see if it was working because it's
Yeah.
supposed to be on Amazon.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know this week.
Okay.
So what I did was I put an order through and it took it. So I
Okay.
wanted to see if it really, because it's coming from the publisher. So
Right.
if it's still good, then yeah, I'll tell you to put the link on it because I
Okay.
just said to Tracy today, we haven't talked about the book much, and if it's on Amazon, I need to promote it.
Absolutely. And I would love to put a link in here so our guests can take
Yep.
a look at it as well. They can click on it and
Yeah,
order it. So cool, Charlie. Yeah, let me know about that link. I have the same thing with my books. I have a few books on Amazon, and they're they're um, they're print on demand. So when somebody orders it, then they print it.
right. Yeah, that's the
Yep.
same thing. Yeah.
Yep. So
Um,
Charlie, we got some talking points here. There's two different categories that we were going to talk about. We wanted to speak to like learn a little bit more about your martial arts background, and also we're going to talk about that book there. But let's go ahead, since you've got the book out and we already started with that, and it kind of segues into influence building with what we were just talking about in our session before you came on.
okay.
Let's talk about that book a little bit more, and I'm going to
Yeah, we
ask
can
you
go through it.
a few questions.
I gave you some ideas on it,
Mm-hmm.
and I put a couple of notes in here that I'd like to bring out. But so,
Well,
do you want to?
what?
The reason I talked about the choose a career is I've
Yes.
done a lot, not recently, but years back. I used to do a lot of speaking to students because I always felt I never really got a good guidance counselor when I was in school. And if I would have had somebody good, I might have had chose a different career. I didn't really know what to do. It's kind of one of those things. So I kind of do it now with my nieces and nephews and stuff like that. And I thought, that's a topic that certainly people might be interested in. So if you want to talk about it, great. If not, that's fine too.
Well,
But just some ideas.
I love hybrids. I've used I've paid attention to hybrids and used hybrids in my writing and my business, because I feel like it's the nexus of two combining topics is a sweet spot, and it's where new ideas are born, right? And being an innovator, coming up with new ideas.
Better?
Yeah, that's great, Charlie. Well, you don't need. You got so much light behind you. You don't need it.
It's going to get dark soon, but this is a.
Oh, that's right.
I'm sitting outside for now, but if I need to go inside, this is a better atmosphere than inside.
I see. You left the beach. You're at the country club now.
Yeah, the beach, right? Yeah.
Hey, so Charlie. So my hybrid question is: Does your background in martial arts, and you did Hapkido, right? Combat
Taekwondo
Hapkido
first, and then Hapkido.
Okay. Do you have 2 black belts?
Yeah, first degree in Taekwondo and a 5th degree in Hapkido.
Oh, I have a black belt too. It's Walmart, $14.99.
Hey, did we start this podcast? Yes, or are we just bullshitting here?
Yeah. No, we're on, man. All right, so
I wasn't sure.
You gotta have a little levity.
Edit that part out there.
All right, so Mr. Miyagi said it in the Karate Kid. You remember?
What was that? He said
the black belt. Oh, something about your brother. He's like, yeah. It's like whatever. Blah blah blah. $4.99.
Oh right.
Gosh, that's hilarious.
Actually, the history behind black belts was people that practiced martial arts. They used to practice it outside, and they started with a white belt. And over the years, the belt got dark because it got dirty, and that's how black belts started.
Oh my
True.
God.
Is that true?
Wow.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's true.
That's awesome. So the one who's been doing it longest is the one with the dirty
Yeah,
belt.
exactly.
Don't mess with a guy with dirty clothes on. He might kick your butt. Okay, so my question was, Charlie, before I had to show you my black belt, was
most black belts take years to get. He got his in about 15 minutes walking into Walmart.
my question, Charlie, was: does having a black belt help you in your business as a business person? Does it help you?
I think it does. And I think the reason for that is one of the things I find helpful, whether it's an adult or children, is a big benefit of learning martial arts is the discipline and the confidence and the integrity that's required to participate. So if you think about that in business, you need to have integrity, right? You need to have determination. And in martial arts, what they do is, the different belts are to give you a goal, right? And all of us that are in business have goals, short-term goals, long-term goals. In martial arts, same thing. Hey, if I start off as a white belt, my next belt is yellow, but my goal is to be a black belt in 2 or 3 years or whatever, right? So those things are taught, whether it's you're a child or an adult, and it helps you get to that next level. So you feel like you've reached something and then go to the next one. And it's the, education is a journey, not a destination. But the reality is that you learn a certain set of techniques, and as you get proficient in it, you learn some new ones, And so yes, I do think it applies to it, most definitely.
I love your answer, man. And discipline and any kind of sport is they have that common ground, right? You've got to have self-discipline in order to succeed, and in business too.
In any sport, you have winners and you have losers, and the reality is in business, sometimes you win, sometimes you don't win the sale, right?
Yeah.
So you have to learn to be appreciative and what it took to be successful or win, and then when you don't win, well, what did I do wrong? What can I do better, right? So it's the same thing in business, same thing in martial arts. If you didn't pass a martial arts test or a competition. Oh, well, why was that person better than me? Why did they win versus me? Was it technique? Was it better stamina? Was it training? Same type of thing.
Going through the martial arts, you have self introspection, and that self analysis gives you the answer that you're looking for to fix the problem, right? So that you could do better next time, right?
Absolutely.
Right? It's the defense move, the striking move. In business, it's okay, maybe I shouldn't have said this in the sales presentation, right? So you make tweaks, adjustments
Right.
to get better. So there's a correlation that you've gone through this in martial arts, you can reapply that now in your business life, doing the
And it
same
gives you
techniques.
the confidence. So an example might be in martial arts, you train, you train, you train. And if you unfortunately get into a bad situation, you have the confidence to do something about it, right? So the same thing is in business. If you've got to know your products, right, and services, you got to know them really well. So you have to practice that and understand it and be knowledgeable in that and be proficient in it to be successful. So both of them is the same thing.
Same thing with passing bar exams, right? You've got to know the content.
Right.
You better memorize it, and so that you can
any test,
so you can regurgitate it on a piece of paper. Yeah.
Right.
So it's practice, 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 practice. Practice makes perfect.
That's it.
That's awesome. All right, so that's awesome, man. I'm so glad that we were able to bring that hybrid of the martial arts into the business world and see the correlation between the two. I think that the reason why we talk about physical, mental, and spiritual wellness in our show is because we see the correlation that you have to have all three, like the perfect triangle, to be a well-balanced person, to be successful. And so that's awesome that you bring that the physical aspects of martial arts into your business life. It's one thing feeds on top of the other. It's habitual. It's a pattern. Successful people have these patterns. Your character is built on good habits,
right?
Or bad habits.
One more thing to add to that is think about it. You're in martial arts. You have an instructor, right? And the instructor is your mentor on techniques, on integrity, and on training, and everything else. So they're a teacher. So you're supposed to look up to them, or you should admire them for what they do. In business, like in law, you can't know everything. I have several mentors today that I go to for advice on different types of case law or whatever to get it. So you have to have some mentors in martial arts, and you have to have some mentors in business to help you get through.
That is fantastic.
You just need to be humble, because you can always keep learning.
Absolutely.
Yep. 100%. I love that. I love there's that the saying, is the cup half empty or half full? Well, if you go into a learning experience and your cup is full, then there's no room to add anything to it. You can't learn anything. You have to come in with an empty
if your
cup to be
is
filled.
full, you have too big of an ego.
Yeah.
There's always something to learn.
Right.
There's the know-it-alls, because you can always feel like there's always a new way, a different style, a different technique. There's always something different that can be added to anything, even the same things that are done, even if it works the same way, there's always a different style to try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but there's always a new possibility. And people learn new things all the time. Science on modern medicine, everything changes every day. The more that we get more technologically advanced, we learn some things that we thought was one way 10 years ago, and we realize, okay, now we have more advanced technology. We can see we were wrong about that.
Right.
And people are so inflated with their ego, they don't have any room for they don't think they have any room for improvement, because they think that they're perfect already, so they don't listen to no one.
Right. There's always a better way.
And Sebastian, you brought up a point there that I'd like to add to. You talked about technology. Technology is always improving, right? And a lot of times these technologies can help you with your business. They can help you in martial arts as well in different ways. There are different training tools that are out there now that haven't been out there in the past. In business, on more online tools that you can use to make your business more efficient. So technology, like you said, is a big deal.
Does it speed up the process, Charlie? Like, did you have videos that you watched when you were going through your training to become a black belt?
So mostly my training was through the master instructor, but one of the things that you do is you kind of supplement. You get interested in a different style and you might look at a video or you might attend a seminar from a different style and you pick things up. I was lucky enough to have an instructor who actually brought in different people to help articulate different styles that he would do
Wow.
what you're just saying, bring it in and maybe influence you in a way that you could use that
Mm,
technique even though it wasn't part of the standard curriculum, you know?
that's awesome.
So,
Right.
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
let's draw another analogy on that one, Charlie. So, do you do the same thing as a lawyer? Do you bring in specialists that can handle specific areas of law that are outside of your scope, your area
absolutely.
of?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can tell you two or three, well, I probably have about four cases right now where I have co-counsel on cases because I felt even though we have to split the fee, I'm doing something more for my client. I think we can better represent the client by bringing in that specific expertise. So
So,
absolutely.
so do you think? Okay, so that applies in the world of martial arts. It applies in the world of law. Do you think that applies to every business in general? That people
Sure it
like who
does.
are start. Go ahead.
Think about the consulting business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. People bring in consultants all the time
Mhm.
Yeah.
for their own business, right? It doesn't matter whether it's medical, petroleum, whatever it is, there
Yep.
are consultants for every one of them. There are major consulting companies that are national and worldwide that you and I probably recognize the names of. It's a
Mhm.
huge business
Yeah.
because if you don't have the expertise within your organization, what do? You either hire
Yep.
an employee or you bring in an expert. And a lot of times companies bring in experts because they want an opinion outside of the company, somebody taking a fresh look at the company.
Yeah.
And the
I
crazy
call.
thing about that is, in my experience, when you bring in a consulting company, what they do is they interview your employees,
Yes, they do. You can
right?
do it
And
yourself,
they
right?
report based on what the employees say, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
and then of course some industry trends, things like that. But that's what happens. Sometimes companies are so big they
Yeah.
don't they
See
don't
what's
see
going
the
on
light.
inside.
Yeah,
Right. They're blinded. Right. They can't. They need you. We do need an outside perspective because we have a biased opinion anyway
yeah,
of what
Yeah.
we have going on inside. A couple of companies came to mind when you said that. Boston Consulting Group is one of those big ones,
sure,
and
yeah,
McKenzie's another big one.
yeah.
And I think PricewaterhouseCoopers does consulting too. I'm not 100% sure.
Deloitte
And
Consulting is a big one. There's a lot
oh
of big
yeah,
ones.
yeah, yeah. That's yeah, like you said, billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar industry. I love that. I love that that you can have an expert and an outside party come in. But what I was and that's for for giving you um like a SWOT analysis, right? They look at your strengths, your
Yeah.
weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats, and then they give you a report and says, "Here's a snapshot of what's going on in your business. These are rooms for improvement, right? Here's what leadership could do. The bottom line, marketing, sales, blah 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 blah, to perfect your business, to tweak your
There's
business, right?
all parts of that. It could be product development even.
Right.
You're
Which
developing a new
that's a big
product.
one today because
Yeah, you bring
Right.
in some expertise to see if your product is good. You
if
bring
there's a
in
market
Yeah,
for
when
it,
expertise.
you're testing out making new products, new lines of stuff.
new widgets.
Yeah,
Right.
Yep. And then there's also technology, right?
Yeah,
sure.
'cause it's
You know,
important, I think, to have someone tell you if it's gonna have potential, because I think they probably have sometimes ideas for certain things, and sometimes they release something and no one likes it, and then it goes bad, and then people talk
what
crap
a
about the
waste.
business, and then their
Yep.
stock goes down,
Yeah.
and it's a
Yeah,
bad
well,
vibe, so
they have
Oh,
control groups, what do you call them? When they beta test it, they'll
right.
have
Beta
people do
testing.
it, but that doesn't mean that group of 12 is right. You never
That's
know what
true.
you're
exactly,
gonna get, you know?
That's true.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so,
And then there's risk involved, right? We're like one of our
sure,
word today was risk tolerance. And you make your assessment, you do a cost benefit analysis, and you take a chance, you roll the
Oh,
dice, you're
yeah.
taking a risk. And
Yep.
sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I heard in research and development that 8 out of 10 are going to be flops. Like if you think about
Wow.
Apple, when Apple was putting together their iPhone before they got the iPhone, they probably had 9 iterations that were flops, and then the 10th one, the iPhone, was the one that was the winner.
You're right,
Yeah.
but take it a step further. They probably, let's say they have 100 products on the table that they think might be, the next big thing. Then they'll narrow it down to 10 or 20 of them, and then they might get 5 or 3 that become. But all
Right.
you really need is one big one, right?
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's
One
the way it is
Airbnb,
supposed to be.
one Uber, right? Like,
Yeah,
Seriously.
it's
right.
amazing, man.
So it's a cost of doing business. You're going to develop these products, and then
Yeah.
they might be beneficial. They might not be, or you might think it is, and it turns out to be a flop. Or you
Right.
know, I laugh when the cell phones first came out with cameras, and I'm like, I said to my wife, "Cameras? What are you going to do with a camera on your phone? That's right." Well,
Little
Can't
did
live
you
without
know.
them today.
so if I was on that committee, I would have been wrong, right?
Oh my gosh.
That's so funny, man. But I remember back in the day, our cell phones had nothing, no text messages, no radio on them.
Wow.
Come on, it was
No.
like they're just
Oh
they
yeah.
were they were a phone.
Yeah. If you own what was it, the Motorola 8000, the brick phone,
Yeah,
if
the
you
big
owned one
block
of
phone.
those,
Oh my
you
god.
were cool, man. And then when the
Right.
flip phone came out, wow,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, I remember when the skinny block phone came out because we had the big block phone in
Right.
1992. I remember because it was right after Hurricane Andrew that we got one because all the phone lines were down in Miami, right?
Yep.
So we bought that big block phone. My
Yeah.
parents got it because they wanted to be able to communicate with the family in Honduras and everywhere else. And then when I would go out at night, I'd go to Coconut Grove. I would carry that big block phone, acting like I was cool.
Yeah, that was called a Motorola 8000. When I worked for
Wow.
AT&T, we sold them. Motorola,
Did you?
and then the slimmer one was called the Ultra.
Okay. Did you have a StarTAC, the flip phone?
Yes. Oh
That
yeah,
was
I paid
like,
$800 for that StarTech.
oh my
That'd be 20 years
god.
ago.
Wow. Oh my.
I think it
That's
was eight
$800.
hundred and
crazy.
fifty dollars.
What would that be equivalent to today, Charlie?
Oh my gosh, that's probably
That's
$2,000 or $3,000, I would
two or
think.
three
Easy.
thousand. That's way
Wow.
more money than an iPhone today, right?
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Around.
Wow. And I thought the iPhones today, I'm like, $1,000 for another
They're
phone. This is
expensive, yeah.
ridiculous. But
You know what,
comparatively speaking, it's not.
I know. I'm speaking
seriously.
at both sides of my mouth because my wife and I needed new phones and we didn't get the iPhone. I'm like, I'm not spending $2,000. We bought Samsung for $300 a piece.
Oh my gosh. You know, the
I
the cool thing about those flip phones though is that when you wanted to hang up on somebody, you could do it like
click.
real aggressive. You
Yeah.
just slam it down. You
Yeah.
know what?
Right.
Done.
Hmm.
I like
Yeah.
watching the older movies where people are talking on those things. Like, oh, look at that.
Oh my
Hey, I
gosh.
had one in
Yeah.
my car. Remember the ones you put down in your car and you pick
Yes.
it up with a cord?
Yes.
I
Yes.
Oh
We're
thought
talking
my
that
about.
was
god.
like really cool, 75 cents a minute. I'm like, I gotta talk
Uh,
quick.
yes. I'll call you back when I get home.
There was no
Yeah,
such thing as unlimited data back then.
No,
right.
not at all. But when they
Somebody
had
Yeah.
calls you like, "What do you
nights and
need? Make it quick."
weekends, they had a plan where you could pay for extra, like I don't know, it was like $5 a month or something extra for nights and weekends. So after I don't know, it was like after 9 p.m., then you had unlimited minutes, right? And all weekend long. That was a big deal. We were like, wow, I could talk all I
Yeah.
want at night.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
my gosh, that's
The
hilarious.
teenagers loved it.
That was like
technology is important
FaceTime
to
back
business.
then.
See,
Yeah.
they knew the parents weren't going to be talking because they'd be in bed by 9 p.m.
Yeah.
It was the teenagers that were going to use it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's how it was, man. All
Wow.
Yeah.
right, Charlie. So going back to your book, give us some information, man. You said you had a few things highlighted on there that you wanted to share with us. Just
Okay.
I'm turning the mic over to you. What do you got?
So we kind of touched on this. People say, what makes a good salesperson? And in my opinion, doing that for, I don't know, 25, 30 years, I would say I always felt I needed to, number one, know my products and services inside and out, the strengths of the organization, and even the weaknesses of the organization to know what they are.
Mhm.
Know what your competitor, pricing is and products and service, and how do we compare. But most importantly, it was integrity. And it was about listening first to what your customer wants, and then going in your toolbox of products and services and seeing what fits and then presenting it that way. And if you're upfront with people, say what you can do and can't do, people respect that. There's one of my first, I'll say big, not realizations, but big story was I had just started with a major company, actually AT&T, and I got a meeting with an executive of another company, and I was selling phone systems. You know, when you go into an office, you have 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 phones in.
Yeah.
And this was a big auto parts store that the guy owned. And he was kind of tough when I was talking to him. You know, I want this, I want that. And then he said to me, look, okay, I'll buy it from you if you can install it by Saturday, whatever the date was. And it was like 10 days or 2 weeks away. And he said, if you can't do it by then I'm not going to buy it. I said, well, then I can't make the sale with you. I'd love to, but I can't, because I'm not going to make you a promise I can't keep. And it just takes longer to do that. I said, but we can do it. I don't know, it was 8 weeks away, something like that. And he looked at me and he said, you know, you're the first person that ever said that to me. Everybody tells me they can do something and can't do it. He said, I'm going to buy it. You install it when you can. Oh, and by the way, I have 44 other stores I want you to look at.
Wow.
Woo!
I didn't know he had 44 other stores, right? So about every month or two, every month he would call and say, hey, I need 2 here or 3 here. And I'd be doing all these sales. And people are like, how do you get all this business? I'm like, I was just being upfront with the guy, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
But he was tough. He's like, if you can't do this by that date, I'm not buying from you.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not going to make you a promise you can't keep. I said,
That's awesome, man. So integrity is everything, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. And everybody else
was
was
ready
like,
to walk away.
everybody else was
Yeah.
just paying them lip service.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can do it, no problem. Blah blah blah.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They're
He's
fingers
probably been
crossed
used
behind
to
their
that
back.
bad service, and they probably
Right,
don't
exactly.
finish the work for him. And he
So
had so much
finally somebody
experience.
comes up and I don't want to say stands up to him, but just gives him an honest answer and says,
Yeah.
here's what I could do for you. You know, it wasn't the product fit what he was looking for.
Yeah.
Just, you know.
But there's so much more to it, right? Because it's an ongoing relationship that you build with the client. Because, like you said, he had all these other stores. He needed more phones here and there.
You
So,
build a rapport with him, so they come back to you for more.
man, that ties into the rapport that you were talking about earlier.
When I worked for Siemens, which is a big German company, we used to sell central office equipment to phone companies. So our clients were the phone companies themselves. So we would build these massive rooms of equipment across the country for these networks. And you know, every company has these promotions where if you can sell X amount a month, you might get an extra little bonus or whatever, or a trip or whatever. And I knew that I was going to make this big sale with this company. And the guy, I was talking to him and he says, how's it going? I said, well, you know, it's going good. I know you're going to buy this thing. You know you're going to buy it. I know you're going to buy it. But if you buy it by the end of next month, I get to go on a trip.
Oh my God.
Right? He goes, give me the contract. I'll sign it now.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
And it was just being up. I mean, we had this rapport that went on for a couple of years. And, you know, I was just being upfront with him. Hey, I know you're gonna buy it. You know you're going to buy it. But if you buy it in this time frame, I get to go on a trip. If you wait a month like you've been talking about, then I don't get to go. And then he gives me a check for $1 million.
Oh my gosh. That is awesome, Charlie. Where was the trip to? Hawaii?
No, it was Cancun, Mexico.
Oh, okay. Well,
Man, Charlie reels in the big fish every time.
Yeah, man.
He just throws it out there hoping for a minnow, and then all of a sudden he gets the bass.
No. He got a whale.
He got
$1
whale.
million
Actually,
whale.
he catches the shark, the barracuda.
I had another client that I went to, and they said, Charlie, we need you to collect on their bill, their past due. I go, all right. Well, I just said, fine, I'll go down. It was in Puerto Rico. So I flew down to Puerto Rico. I go meet the executive and I'm checking my email. I go, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to pick up $1 million check here, a $2 million check. So I never seen a $2 million check before in my life. oh my gosh. You know?
Did you get the check, Charlie?
Wow.
Yeah, got the check. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have to like threaten him? Like, hey, man, do I?
No, I didn't. The crazy part
I'm
about it
joking.
is, I mean, this stuff is expensive when you're talking about central equipment. So
I was just thinking of Rocky.
spending
You
this
remember
kind of
Rocky,
money.
Charlie?
So to me, it was like, oh, this is a big deal, you know?
You remember Rocky, Charlie? The first Rocky?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, you remember what his job was before he got into the boxing ring with
Oh
Apollo
my
Creed?
Yeah,
gosh, I
he
remember.
was an enforcer.
Yeah, he has to go collect the check. He's like, "Am I gonna have to break your finger, man? Just write the check." That
Yeah,
was Charlie, the black belt.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's like,
That's why he sent
he's
you,
like,
Charlie, because you have a black
I hate
belt.
to tell you this, but I am a black belt in karate, and I do want to
Yeah.
go on this trip next month, so you better get to sign in.
Oh, that
No,
was
I
but you
may
know,
or may not be a
seriously,
black belt.
it,
Do you really want to find out?
I'm not telling you this to brag or anything. I'm just saying for your audience, it's about relationships. It's about them trusting
Yeah.
you, that you're providing the best service and the best products that's the best fit for them, and that you're not overselling them. You know, you're being upfront with them. You're telling them what you can do, what you can't do, and you develop those kind of relationships. It's that's what really works. You know, and I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'll pause for a second. But you get me. This is stuff that's near and dear to me, and I love talking about it. But you have to remember who your audience is too. So, like for me, I was right now. I'm just in a golf shirt, but a lot of times I was always in a tie and a suit and everything. And then when I started selling to the people in the rural markets, they were more casual, you know.
Mhm.
And you'd go to the businesses and they would never wear a tie, so I'd had to start taking my tie off, start wearing golf shirts or whatever. And then
Mhm.
here's the funny part: they invited me to a golf outing with their a bunch of different executives that were from the South in these small rural towns. These were
Mhm.
small telephone companies, not big companies. In these rural areas, a lot of them are family owned and things like that.
Okay.
I show up in my golf shirt with my clubs, and they show up in overalls.
No
Overalls.
way.
I swear. And I was like, at a golf course? Usually, wherever you go, they'd kick you out if you were in. They all had overalls on, you know, with the straps.
Yeah.
They were just the good old boyfriends, and we had a blast. You know, they were just.
Wow.
I was really just shocked. I'm like, wow.
I
Normally, you go, you know, like dressed with a golf shirt, and these guys were in
Yeah.
overalls, and I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
there's a line that popped in my head, Charlie. When you're telling me the story, you show up in the golf outfit, and I'm like, it reminded me of Joe Pesci and Marissa Tomei, my
Oh
cousin
yeah,
Vinny.
my cousin
He's like,
there,
"Oh,
literally.
you blend."
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, I
You
had
blend.
to blend. Okay, you know,
He was. That's hilarious.
I
He
had to
shows up.
dress down and blend and be a good old boy. You know.
Charlie showed up like a city slicker.
He
Yeah,
doesn't have to
right.
In
walk
the
around
country
and find a
club.
different group.
You're like, hey boy, you're in the good old boy club. You ain't in the country club.
Yeah, it's true.
Uh,
It's true. It really
they
is.
probably loved you, Charlie, because like, oh, he's got the New York accent. He's like a fast talker. You're a smooth talker. You are. They probably
Hey,
loved you,
it took a
Charlie.
while. Really, it took a while to develop a trusting relationship with these people. They were all good people, but you were
Yeah.
an outsider, basically. You know,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
But
And,
that's the
and I don't think it's different whether you go into the West, the North, the South. People are people, and you just there's in this country there's different lifestyles, and you know, be yourself. But if dress code is a good example of, you might have to know what they are before you show up. Now, I don't have a pair of overalls, but you know,
Me neither. And I live in Jacksonville, Florida. I actually saw a guy wearing overalls working in the shopping center over here. He's doing some construction work. I was like, he's probably the general.
there you go.
He's probably the main guy.
Yeah.
So no, but that's actually that was perfect for what we were talking about, is building influence and getting people to like you. And when you find some common ground, then you start the relationship, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's awesome because you just gave a real world application to what Sebastian was teaching us in our show before you came on, Charlie. So it was perfect.
Good. Good.
Yeah. So listen, we're almost at the we're here at the hour now, but is there any other thing that you'd like to add before we wrap up today, Charlie?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to bring out. I just highlighted.
Great. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. I'm going to say, so and I'm not promoting the book, but nice if people bought it, but
Oh no. Let's promote it. It'll help people, man.
a couple of
It would be
things.
selfish of you if you don't share your knowledge,
All right, it's
Charlie.
1001 professional sales tips is what it is.
There you go.
And you can go to Amazon and buy it. 1001 professional sales tips.
And I'll add a link. I'll find a link and put it in the show notes.
So one of the things I wrote in here, and I put a couple of key points on a page by itself to emphasize this point. A good price is one that is perceived to have great value and advantages to the buyer. If you don't uncover what the benefit is, forget it. They're not going to buy it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If there are no serious consequences or gains, then there's no major motivation to buy. I'll buy it in 6 months from now. I'll buy it. You have to understand the business to know what is going to motivate them to purchase it now.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Versus, hey, this will benefit your company sometime in the future.
Yeah.
What's the urgency of doing that, right?
So a sense of urgency, like, hey, if you want to change and have a benefit now, take advantage of it, make your business better now, then do this now.
And to that effect, when you think about who your audience is, when you're making a presentation, this chapter is about presentations. What's important to you may not be what's important to your audience. So, for example, if you're talking to mid-level management, that's one type of discussion.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking to the people who touch the customers, that's a different presentation. If you're talking to the executive, a VP, senior VP, a president, or the owner of the company, that's a different discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly, I can assure you that if you don't get their attention right away, they'll walk out.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand who your audience is.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's one of those three or all three, you have to tailor your presentation to your audience.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice, Charlie.
You know?
Yeah, it is.
This is a chapter on sales management. Bringing out the best in your people is what makes you an excellent manager of people. So what I mean by that is you could be a great martial artist, but it doesn't mean you're a great teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Different skills, right? Okay. So, you may not be great at everything, but your team has to be good at what they're in. Otherwise, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be successful. Find people who are good at what you need, and that's who you make part of your team.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has to have the same skill sets, right? What makes a good team is the synergy between different types of skill sets. And remember, it's not you that's going to be successful. If your people are successful, then you'll be successful.
Right. You got to make your people successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to provide them the support. And then here's another one I have here. This is on professional selling. The successful salesperson is the one with the right attitude, the person who believes in what he or she is doing, the person who motivates others, and the person who gets things done.
100%.
Right? Let me see what else I have here. So when you're working for a company, all of us are spendable. No company will move on without you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get promoted and how do you stay successful in the company? Well, my thing here says, make yourself invaluable to your organization, whether that's being the best at a certain skill set, knowing a product or service like nobody else knows, right? Being the top producer, make yourself invaluable to the organization. So here's a chapter on trade shows, right? So all of us have trade shows, right? So one of the things I put in here was you have about 5 to 10 seconds to attract someone's attention to your booth. Think about that. When you're walking in a trade show, you're looking around, you're going, oh, I'll go see them. Or if there's nothing that appeals to you within seconds, you're going to keep on walking, right? So
Yeah.
in the book, one of the things that we used to do was we would have coffee and make the aroma go out through the
Oh, I love it.
people would notice,
Wow.
That's influential.
right?
Yeah.
So if you're doing one in Miami, you have the Cubano coffee,
Cafe
right?
Cubano.
Yeah, something that's appealable. I
That's
said,
awesome. That's
I,
awesome. I love that, Charlie.
I would,
I'm gonna have to borrow that idea.
yeah. I
Yeah.
was at a trade show in Las Vegas one time, and this company was promoting their product, and they were promoting a beach theme, right?
Mm,
What they did was they gave away, you know, those rafts you could buy like for $5 or two, the cheap rafts. The
okay.
they got the lines in them, you know, they're probably 6 foot
Little
long,
floaty.
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the floats. Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
see them, they're very common, but if you get a
They have
real
them at the
basic
dollar
one,
store.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this company gave away these inflatables, 6 foot long inflatables
Yeah.
with their logo on it, but the only way you could take it is if they blew it up for you.
Get out of
You had to
here.
walk around the
Wow.
trade show with the inflatable.
So their
the
name
whole
was
time
walking
you were
around
there.
everywhere. Oh my god.
So there was
What a
one everywhere.
great
Everybody
advertising.
knew where they were.
That's hilarious, man.
But it was effective, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
super effective. That's amazing. I love it.
That is
And
great.
then,
Yeah, that's
I have one
great.
here about
Way to-
working with sometimes people in your organization. Sometimes you have to shield your prospects and customers from associates in your company who are not customer friendly. Some people don't know how to talk to customers. So if you have somebody in your organization, and in this book, I was referring to a finance person who used to finance our deals. He was terrible with talking to clients. So I never let him talk to them. I would always do the work and just give him the paperwork because he didn't
Oh.
know how to talk to people.
Mm-hmm. You
So
would
I-
run
It
your
ties in
business
with
out the door.
knowing your strengths and your weaknesses too. Some
Exactly,
people
right?
do too much, and that's not one of their strengths, and they're really hurting the business when they want to help
Well, they're
it.
not going to hurt my sales, so I didn't let him talk.
That's taking the bull by the horn, man.
Right.
Seriously.
And then at the end, in the summary, I'll just say this last one was, your success depends on many factors, but mostly it depends on you.
Ah, that's awesome, man.
Yes,
You have to
that's
take
great.
ownership.
You know?
100%.
Responsibility.
Yep. So those are some of the key things from the book. There's a lot more, but we're
Those
running
are
Well,
great, man. I want to read this book now too.
He's already put
That's
one in the mail
great
to
tip.
me, so it's fantastic.
Then you
So
gotta, yeah, I gotta get a
I'll
copy
share it with you,
at some
Sebastian.
point.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that is
I
awesome,
need
man.
that because they're all, every single one of those was like something that you can apply it to your business and to your life as well too. It's a multi-use
Beneficial book. Yeah,
tips.
Yep.
No, it's just for
Yeah.
business only. It's good information just to have at all.
Yep.
Right?
So just Google 1001 professional sales tips, and you can buy it for $17.
I'm
I
gonna-
will.
I'm
I
gonna
will
put the-
do it. I'll do it.
I'm
I'll
gonna put the
support
link
it.
on the show.
Yeah,
That is
I already
awesome,
sent
man.
you guys one.
Charlie, that's
great.
amazing,
Yeah, those are
man.
great tips.
I can't believe that I've known you for 7 years and I haven't read this book yet. This is crazy.
Well, we were a little busy.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
true. We did have a lot to read, didn't we, Charlie?
Yeah, most definitely.
Seriously.
All right, man. So, by the way, I pulled one of my. I was a member of the Real Property Trust and Estates forum with the ABA, and I pulled one of the books yesterday and started reading about a case that that was about coastal erosion, and there was a Justice Scalia came up with a majority opinion that was favorable to the private property owners. I think this was in was South Carolina Coastal Coalition, and it basically gave it gave property owners, private property owners, the win on this case, right? Because the coastal they wanted to do like an eminent domain and like basically a taking, so that they could protect the beaches, the coastlines. So think about it, man. Anyways, the point is like this the article that I'm reading is actually in favor of the coastal coastline region, and look, there's two sides of the coin, right? And one side you want to
Sure.
protect the beaches, right? And on the other side
Yeah.
you want to protect the private property rights of an owner. And so, anyways, I'm not done reading this case review. It's a 15-year review from the time that it was passed, and this book is already from 2018. So this is like 20 years ago. This case, but you remember Justice Scalia, right? And I haven't read
Sure.
I haven't read any legal cases since I left law school in 2018. So it's like, whoa, this is what it's like to read a case again. It's like so, you know how it is, Charlie. It's like
Oh my gosh, yeah.
it's like a pretzel, man. You got so many different thoughts going on, and it's like,
Wow.
let me pull it apart and understand each component of it here. So anyway,
It's like what I just read. Let me look at that again.
exactly. Like, where's this guy going here? He's getting a little circular.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, it's a good thing to dive back into it, man. It's like mental exercise, you know. I don't know why I brought that up. I wanted to share with you. I started reading a case. I guess that's what it was. But yeah, man. Anyways, thank you, Charlie, so much for coming on to the show tonight. We're so glad to
Sure.
have you. And you always bring somebody. This is
Great.
the second time you come on, and you brought so much value. And damn it, man, I wish you could be here as be a co-host with us. You're so damn good. We're gonna have to recruit you onto the Entrefluential Life podcast, Charlie.
Oh boy.
He's a guest emeritus.
Oh my gosh.
Have a team approach, huh?
That's right, man. That's right.
Well, you
Anyways,
got Sebastian who's got the younger view, right? You know, he's the latest and greatest of things, and you and I are a little older, and we remember silly things like the brick phone and other stuff that, you know,
it keeps it diverse.
things have changed.
That's what makes
Yeah.
the conversation so great, is to see what things are like now and to see how things were before. Because you know, like you were saying earlier, it's all a part of the journey. So you know, you see the different journeys that I'm on, that you guys are on, how they can how the roads can intertwine from the different age groups. There's so many things that can be applied. It doesn't matter how old you are, what your background is, where you come from. We can all be connected in some way, and like, you know, learn from one another.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, I appreciate that, Sebastian, because I didn't hear you say, "Hey, Dad," or "Hey, Charlie, you guys are old and wrong. Forget it. That doesn't happen anymore." You know?
Right.
You guys are dinosaurs.
There's a saying, a Greek saying, that if you don't have somebody with gray hair on your team, go find someone with gray hair.
But you also have
you
have to have a mix of age. I mean, Sebastian brings in a different skill set and a different view, because, you know, at his age group, my gosh, the technology changes, you know, every couple of months,
right?
You know, compared to years ago.
And that's his language.
Yeah, you know, so, you know, it's you have to have that. So I think it brings a lot of diversity to your show.
And it brings the vitality to us, right? Us old dogs.
Yeah.
You know, we need that vitality. We need to feel youthful again. And so that's what the young people bring to us. We're like, oh, wait a minute, wait, we can give you some advice on this because we've been through this before. So we're kind of like your crystal ball in reverse, right?
Right. Yeah.
And we're like, let me feed off of your energy, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I can get back in the game again.
Yeah, it's great. It benefits both of us. And the cool thing about it is, hopefully, you know, the more people that start to listen to it, especially in my age group, hopefully they can learn from me, like I have learned, to start listening to your elders and start listening to the people that have gone through the situations, because I've been so hard-headed for so long, not wanting to take advice, and then I go through the situation and realize I was wrong, and realize if I had taken that advice, I could have saved myself some money, heartache, whatever pain, anything that I've gone through. So it's good to
But that's actually a good learning curve for you. When that happens, you have to take that and say, I learned from that, right? You know, and I'll tell you one more thing. When somebody gives you advice, or you talk to you get 3 or 4 different opinions, you don't have to agree, but at least listen. And you can still do what you want to do, but at least you're making an educated decision,
right?
Versus just being, this is the way it is, my idea only. If at least listen to other people, you can modify it a little bit. Hey, you know, my dad said I ought to do this, so I'm going to tweak it a little bit. I don't agree with 100%, but I'll tweak it a little, And I think this is the right approach. So keep
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
what you're doing, you know?
100%.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
And then
trying
it,
the best to keep keep an open mind with everything. Take little bits and pieces from here and there, and what works for me and what fits.
And if
yep,
even after you do your due diligence and you listen to people and you say, I don't agree with any of you, then go do what you said you were going to do.
right. Follow your gut
Yeah,
instincts. And then
Right?
if you're wrong, make an
yeah,
adjustment.
exactly.
Just pivot.
Yeah,
Because there is such a thing as bad advice. There is people that can lead
it's true.
you.
Oh,
There is
sure.
people like friends. Your friends want to influence
Right.
you in your relationship and whatever, and
Right.
everyone has their point of view.
Right. Even if their intentions are good, right? Maybe they're not ill-willed, they're not ill-intentioned. They try to give you advice that they think is appropriate, but
Exactly.
it could be wrong timing, right? The markets change,
Exactly.
things
Exactly.
change, your circumstances change, and then so like the advice that you got and you applied turned sour because of the changing environment, so you can't really blame them for that, but you just pivot, right? You just make an
Right.
adjustment and you move on. You're like, oh, okay, well that didn't work because of this, but it's like
Yeah.
Charlie was saying earlier on, is being observant, right? Doing self-analysis, analyzing the
Yes.
environment, and then making adjustments from what you
And,
observe.
and think of the source. If your hairdresser is telling you what to do to fix your car, okay,
Right. Yeah.
you take it with a
Seriously.
grain of salt, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Like,
Yep.
okay, buddy. Thank you for your advice.
Yep. Yep.
Gonna
Exactly.
run to the bank right now and apply that. Well, thank you.
Oh
Thanks
man.
again, Charlie, for coming on tonight, man. We really appreciate you, man.
My pleasure,
You
man.
are so awesome. And say hi to Tracy and give her our best, please.
We'll do. All right, man.
Awesome. Well, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to the Entrefluential Life podcast. At the end of every show, I like to remind you to go out there and be entrefluential. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
And go and amplify your message,
Thank
right?
you. Thank you, Sebastian. That's right. Go amplify your message.
Exactly.
All right. Good night,
All right, guys. Have
everybody.
a good night.
Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye
Bye.
bye.